Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next edition of the show Language Talks. We have an illustrious guest with us today, author, popular columnist, novelist, and editor, family counselor, Gouri Dange. She has been working in this field for the last 20 years. Her writing workshops draw a range of participants. She has 9 published books. Among fiction are Zakia Manson, The Counsel of Strangers, The Three Dog Night, and among non-fiction are ABCs of Parenting, More ABCs of Parenting, Always a Parent, Belly Dancing, A Romp Through the World of Food, Yo-Yo Nama, and Tipri and Khandu, which is a children's book. She is a student and keen listener of Hindustani classical and film music and writes extensively on the subject. She has a popular weekly column in the Pune Mirror in its 8th year. Learning Curve, her much-read column in Mint, is in its 7th year. In The Hindu, she has a column on listening to Indian classical music. As a book editor, she has edited and assisted in the writing of over 350 non-fiction and fiction books over the last 15 years. The subjects are varied, like Indian music, art, history, social movements, mental health, environment, business, travel, and many more. Let's talk to her today. Welcome to the show, Gouri.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Lalita.
So nice to have you here. I would like to start with your blogs. I find your blogs wonderful. And my favorite among them is You've Got to Be Kidding Me and The Freelancer's Life. I could totally relate.
Right.
So when I start reading, I am unable to look away from the screen because your style of handling mundane things is really awesome. So please tell us more about your blog.
So funnily, I didn't start blogging first. I started my columns first, and I found that to give them a longer shelf life, I started uploading them on my blog so that more people read it. They stay in one place. Either in a daily newspaper, the column becomes Raat Gayi Baat Gayi. The next day is Raddi. So I thought I must put them somewhere for people to read. It was before Facebook and all was so otherwise I may have kept putting them on Facebook. But I thought under one about 6-8 subdivisions, I put them in the blog. I started uploading every time with the saying where they can find it in the original form, whether it's Hindu or Pune Mirror or Outlook or whichever magazine.
Wow, that is good. So taking you back, you have done your master's in English. So I wanted to ask you, why did you choose English back then? And do you have a literature background?
Yes, I did an MA in English literature. Kind of. See, I've always been a big reader. Both my grandfathers were. One was a Marathi writer called Shamrao Oak, and one was a teacher of English. My Dange Azoba was a teacher of English. So there's a lot of English books, Greek mythology, all kinds of eclectic things in the house. My father and brother, sister, everybody used to read. But I must say that I kind of by default went into higher studies in literature.
I see.
By default, English घ्यायचं. It was the thing you did. If you didn't go into science, you did something like this. So that literature background is really, of course, the MA helped to form your ideas, to expose yourself to the world literature first of all. But this reading atmosphere in the house, I think, drew me more to literature. And of course, the options after that were first I'm saying I graduated in 82, meaning my MA. The options were very limited. Either you went into journalism full-fledged or you taught, So that's how I went into it. I began teaching. I taught in Sophia College for a couple of years. Then got a job with a magazine on the editing desk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Business India magazine. Yeah.
I see. So that is when you took the plunge into writing?
No, I had, and I'll talk about this later, but I think everybody has this inner critic sitting on your shoulder saying, "Ha, theek hai, school चे essays मध्ये चांगले marks मिळाले असतील, पण you're no writer. Just, you're editing yourself before you even start." And career-wise, I just kept getting work to edit, and I became good at editing. So I told myself I'm an editor. I'm not a writer, I'm an editor. But when I finished editing 100 books, I always put, when the book was done, I used to put it in my biodata and my little, extra
profile.
Chalo, this one. And I took my family out for lunch. And then while we were celebrating the 100th book, I felt next tappa is 200 book editing. And I felt, no, I feel like writing. I think I should write. And I tried my hand at it. And the funny thing is, the first thing of mine that was published was a kind of spoof or a send-up of Marathi Manus. It went on the internet everywhere. It wasn't just laughing at Marathi Manus, it was laughing with Apan Ashe. So sometimes that piece, which I wrote 20 years back, is sent to me without my name in it and said, "Hey, look at this interesting piece. It's somewhat like how you write." And it's my piece. It's still going around that Marathi Manus piece.
Very nice. Yes, I think I'm referring to that only.
Is it?
You've got to be kidding me.
Is that the one?
It is the one. Yes.
Acha.
It's really good. So that's what I realized. You use humor in serious writing also.
Yes.
So can you tell us about it?
So it's a tricky thing in the sense. सगळंच हसण्यावारी नेणं, that's not the point of using humor.
Okay.
It is looking at even the most serious and most demanding or challenging phases of somebody's life or your life with an eye on the absurdity of life. Sometimes the absurdity.
Okay.
And by exaggerating or using some amount of sarcasm, and I think I get the point across. I don't just whitewash. It's not you're supposed to drop the point and just laugh away your blues. That's not the idea. But it comes naturally to me. Even if I'm shouting at my two grand nieces, if I'm shouting also, I'll use some sentence which will make them laugh, but the point will go across.
Okay.
I think it just sort of comes naturally to me. I do see the humor in absurdity in a lot of things. Even when I'm very angry, I can see the absurdness of what's going on.
Really good. Then you have interwoven food and fiction in some of your writing. So what is the inspiration behind that?
So it started with, in one of my novels, which one is called? It's called 3 Dog Night. It was at the back of my mind that people, whether it's in counseling, you're sitting on the train with somebody who you've never met, she's telling you something that's going on in her life that is quite tense or quite complicated. But they'll always remember what food was made or eaten or not eaten or wasted or rejected. They'll say, तो पानावरून उठून गेला आणि मी त्या दिवशी डाळ ढोकळी बनवली होती, and how dare he. And they'll quickly tell you the dal dhokla is a recipe also while they're at it. Really, I really found that a lot. So I thought this is the rhythm with which many of us work, that the food cannot be taken away from our daily living, the engagement with food. So in 3 Dog Night, I not just woven recipes, mention of food, but actually put this is how you make so-and-so. But it's situational. Why that dish is being mentioned there is situational.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I really enjoy doing that, and I just feel it's a very organic aspect of many people's lives, and something that's going on in their lives.
True, that's real. That makes it more interesting because we can relate to all the factors in it.
Right. Because you have to keep on living, meaning you have to, you have to eat, you have to produce food, you have to shop, whatever is going on in your life.
In spite of that. true.
Yeah, correct. Hmm.
So, how does one decide whether one should write a book of whatever material you have in mind, or should it be a blog or a poem, or whether should we publish it, not publish it? So, how does one go about it?
Yeah. So usually when you start off, you're looking at small, small genres. Maybe a middle in a newspaper, small middle, or a little humorous piece for your college magazine. Or it starts small. It starts really small because you can control it. The whole mamla is over in 700 words. But as you go along, you do feel there's more. Those small order columns, short stories is one thing. But sometimes a subject has more breadth in it, more breadth. And everything can be wound up and summed up in those 700 words. That's when you start allowing yourself to let it run and not be in a hurry to see the beginning, middle, and end before you even start writing. So, like when I started writing Zakia Mansion, I stopped editing work for a while. Because as an editor, I think I was so used to wanting to see that it all, whether it's fiction or non-fiction, that it all works, that it all hangs together, it all there is logic, readability, consistency. But to start off with that is really tying your hands and legs and trying to write. So for a few months, I didn't take editing work also. And I found that I could allow myself to write, tell yourself that this may not make it to the final story, but let me develop this part. Or this character is actually, I'm just forcing this character in because I like the idea, but he's not going to remain in this. That dheel, like when you fly a kite, the dheel dela lagte hain. The dheel, you give that loose thread for your kite to fly. You need to have the space to do that when you're writing larger things. And then it may show itself as, okay, this is the material of a whole book, or at least a novella. So that's how you. But I think most people start with small things. You shouldn't start with everything. Shouldn't be seen. Today, I feel many people assume they want to write. That means it has to be a 1 lakh word novel straight away.
Okay.
There is this thing as if there are no other genres.
So each genre of writing must be having certain, factors which should be considered by the author. So, there must be some restrictions or rules, we can say.
Yeah. Yes. So, for example, if I have a weekly column, it is slowly got internalized after my initial discussion with the commissioning editor. We want a column on people watching in Pune, say. So you are given a leeway to write whatever you want, but there is still an outer compound wall to that given.
Okay.
So, or what you can't write, no promoting people, those kind of things that the publication itself will tell you. No communal stuff, whatever their internal things are. But for you, simple thing, you may be told you can't write in the first person. You can't say I this, I that. It's not an editorial, it's a column. So those little distinctions. If they invite you to write an editorial, it's a complete opinion piece. So there you will write I. Completely what applies only to you, not look at necessarily universalizing it. Well, a column is, weekly somebody is going to open and they should look forward to, let's see what she has to say about this. Does it match with what I think or what I've been experiencing? So say a column has those kind of compulsions. A short story has of course, its own compulsions. In modern times, we are lucky that there are no very hard and fast structures and rules for the short story. You can leave it open-ended. You can leave it unexplained. All the knots have to not be tied up at the end. So I have found sometimes even between fiction and non-fiction, I'll start writing a non-fiction piece for a column, but in the back of my mind, hey, this has story material. So you can sort of jump genres also sometimes. So, or even your interests can go into your genre. Like my music interest in classical music and bird watching sometimes has found its way into one story, one column. So
Okay.
the content of what you weave into that story is up to you, but there are the restrictions of that genre that is there.
Okay.
Sometimes
Nice.
when I'm editing, I tell somebody that you are fictionalizing this, but actually you're just giving your opinions. The fiction is just a very thin skeleton on which you're overloading your editorial views. Maybe you need to write a non-fiction thing about this. Because you have an opinion, and why are you unnecessarily gussowing it into a fiction story? So those are the restrictions of the genre that come up then.
Yeah, and it must be difficult to understand these thin lines between the genres also, and also your thoughts and the character.
Correct. The content that you ultimately deliver. Yeah.
Great. You have edited over 350 books of fiction and non-fiction for leading publishers in India. And you have worked closely with many leading authors. So how was that experience?
I can happily say and proudly say that while I may have had some, jig as we call it with some of the publishers, I have had these 350 authors are my 350, if not friends, but they continue to be, we have continued to have a very cordial relationship. And I think that's kudos to them also, because they submit to the editing process. So difficult, such a thing, to submit your material to somebody.
Right.
And some credit to me for not putting my, not bullying people, trying to put my chap on their work. It's very invisible work. You have to be in the background and work. That has worked out very well, I think. Where our relationship is intact, their material is intact. They feel that they've got value and not just some necessary evil of giving it to an editor. While with publishers, I've had nice big jhakki fights.
Okay, but I mean, it must be challenging to stay invisible, stay in the background, and still do some important work like this.
Yeah.
And
I think
I
became very good at it before even becoming a writer. So that was good. I hadn't got a writer's voice in place yet. I was an editor first and then a writer, definitely.
That helped you.
Yeah.
Nice.
And, you have great respect for that person's. It's hard work putting together a story. Whether it's a little booklet on diabetes or whether it's a grand novel. So much work has gone into it. So you have great respect for that person's, the work that has gone into it. Now it has to be enhanced.
Correct. You have worked closely or in collaboration with the Marathi writer Shobha Bondre.
Yes.
So we would like to hear that experience.
Shobha is now a dear friend, and I met her. I once went to her book launch of one of her Marathi books, Mumbai Sa Dabbawala.
Oh, okay.
And I was sitting there, and then I felt, my God, this book has to come out in English. Then I saw her book on called Not Only Potels. It's a Marathi book on the motel owning Patels of America and other Gujarati entrepreneurs in America.
Oh, okay.
That also I felt this book has to be available to other non-Maharashtrian, to Indians at large. And somebody introduced me to her, and I said, why don't let's do something together. So first, Dabbawala we produced, she and me, her daughter translated it very well. I did a basic edit on it. And we decided to self-publish between her and me. Modest, small print run in English. Then the book caught the eye of another big Delhi publisher, and they asked if they could take the rights. And I was happy to give them. I mean, it means a much bigger exposure. Yeah. As for Hotels, another book I felt that really needs an all-India release. It needs to be released in America, where there's a big Gujarati business family, business community. So with that, we just worked together on editing it. And That's how we became great friends. She's also a Bombay person who's moved to Pune, like me. And I think we are a sub-community. People who have grown up in Bombay and are living in Pune. It's a subcaste, I think. So then we, because we talked so much about the writing process, she and me developed a talk, a 1-hour talk called "Can you make a living out of your writing?" And we used to do it either in Marathi or in English, on different forums, whether it was Rotary, at some publishing event, at colleges, at writing workshops. So we found we had so much different and yet similar experiences to share. So we continue to be very good friends, and we are in touch with each other about what we are working on. We'll run ideas past each other. Or we spend the whole day out together. Zapurza Museum, which has just opened here.
Yes.
Go and spend a whole day. We can spend a whole day together, wandering, eating, talking, family, talking, work. So our collaborations are very organic when we collaborate.
True. Coming to Marathi, some of your books have been translated into Marathi. Right. So which ones are those?
So my first novel, the one that Penguin published, 3 Zakia Mansion, I had kept all the language rights to myself. They had only the English rights. So Rajhans Prakashan showed interest in it. And I didn't translate it. Another translator did that. And that's how that came out. I'm in the process of having the Council of Strangers, म्हणून एक माझं पुस्तक आहे, English पुस्तक. In the process of having that translated also. And I have the translation of Yo-Yo Nama, the one book I've written about a dog. It's a non-fiction book. Yo-Yo Nama has been translated into Marathi, but it's still not published. The translation needs some work. Perhaps you can help me with that translation.
So this Yo-Yo Nama, can you explain the word to us?
All these Mughal emperors had Akbar Nama, Shah Nama, the story of the chronicle of their life being told by. This little dog had all the personality of a Mughal emperor. He was a little terror also. He was a dictator. I've called it Yo-Yo Nama. The subtitle is I'm forgetting the subtitle, but about the word dictator is in the subtitle. Not that all Mughal emperors were dictators, but he had that shan also. And he had praja. He did not have masters and owners. He had praja. We were his praja. That's why I called it Yo-Yo Nama.
Fantastic. So I would like to discuss with you this urge of any linguist who is working in any language, international or Indian, to read the same book in our own language. For example, like you said, this is an English book. I want to read it in Marathi or Hindi or any Kannada or German or French.
Yes.
So what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's giving the, they say about learn a new language, earn a new life. They say it's almost like you get a whole other life when you need. Same thing, your book gets a whole new life when it is read by people who, you would never encounter. You don't know their language, they don't know, but a well-translated book will then, travel around the world in that. It's very thrilling to have. Simple thing like what I write behind the Kalnirne calendar, when I see it in Marathi and in Hindi and somebody reads it out to me in Tamil, I'm so pleased at the concept itself, that work should find a reach and a spread. Like that.
Yes. Yeah, because the author writes so that everybody reads, not only his own population, but everyone.
Correct, not just for his own, small Jat Biradari. Yeah, it is. You don't mind having it read by people. You will enjoy it being read by people whose language here, Zakia Mansion has gone into Marathi. That itself for me is a big thing. That non-Marathi readers, non-English reading people are reading this thing. But it goes into multiple languages, it really has a life of its own, that book then.
True. It is very exciting.
Mm.
Coming to your creative writing workshops, I have myself attended one of it, and it's very exciting and encouraging and very positive. So, I mean, you are dwelling into a lot of things like editing also, translation also, writing also, and teaching also.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
one thing is, how do you handle all these things? And next question is, you teach creative writing at various institutions. So what does it involve, and how is that experience also?
So handling in this one basket, broadly under the same umbrella, working with written, with language. I think from my editing years, I remember I used to have on the table, 3 or 4 books going simultaneously, editing.
Okay.
And I got used to doing that. My mother used to say, "Acha shimpya sarkha, shimpi ek divas will do all the shivani. One day he'll do all the collars. Today he'll cut all the pant legs." It's like that. You're advancing those projects. I got used to that. It wasn't. You didn't have the luxury to say, "No, I'll finish this full book, then I'll take the next one." There was no point doing that. There was work also, and books are different stages. So you can, suppose I finish the first edit, send it back to you. Then I have that blank time. Then I've taken another book or 2 other books. Same thing with this teaching, writing, editing, counseling. They are all like a juggler. They're all in the air. All those balls are in the air, and it's great fun. When I had during the pandemic lesser work, I really missed that, full buffet of work that I used to have.
You're teaching at various institutions and also your individual workshops. So can you tell us about the members who attended? I mean, who are they, or how is your experience of interaction with them?
With people. So it was for me, quite frankly, it was to do online workshops became much more interesting for me than teaching, 30 students who are of the same age group, broadly the same kind of background, very too homogeneous. Of course, it's easier to teach a homogeneous group because you know their blank spots, you know what makes them tick. But here, literally 18 to 88 was the age group. And the geographic spread, I was so happy to see people from, Northeast India, somebody sitting in Hong Kong, there's a person in London, bringing their very different worldviews into the workshop. And language skills also. There we saw many of us experience this. Those who are hesitant, maybe they're not speaking English very fluently, but that doesn't stop them from being extremely creative in their minds in their own languages. So some of the stuff that I was working with people in the workshops, I think I was careful to remember that these are broad general guidelines that will work in whatever language you write. As it happened, the medium of instruction was English. But if you were originally writing in Assamese or whatever your original language was, some of those things we learned and tried and experimented with can be taken to your language writing too, whatever your core ability is.
So irrespective of the language, it is the thought that you're teaching them.
How to think. Yes. And I also feel it helped. I could see it that out of about, it was used to be class of 30 or so, there will be 10% or a little more for whom it's an eye-opener, even meeting other people and seeing their writing aspirations or their approach to one of the writing exercises, because they had not interacted with other aspiring writers at all, So
they're getting exposure.
Sorry?
They're getting exposure to...
Right. And that it's not just a question of digging into your life and writing that. There's so many other aspects of writing, fiction or non-fiction. I think that I really enjoyed also watching the process of 30 people, not that they were constantly interacting, but they were required to read each other's work, upload what people upload, little comments on the side. It was, I think, much broader base than if you just, in Pune, I've had writing workshops for people of different age groups before the pandemic in a space. That was varied enough, but this geographical spread, I particularly was very, very interested in the North. So many people from the Northeast coming into the thing. Where will we ever get them in Pune in a workshop? They may be Pune dwellers, maybe, but not actually sitting somewhere and taking part. From everywhere, small towns, very small towns. You won't see them in the Pune workshop. People have come from a very tiny town. So.
Oh, nice. You have subtitled the award-winning Marathi film Disciple and Govind Nihalani's Drohakal and also a few TV serials in the 90s. So subtitling is a challenging task.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And you have to work very closely with the director, very closely, because they have a vision also. I mean, they have a vision, and you whatever you write, you may seem the correct word, but that person. So we've sat and struggled over one word, choice of one word, which is a lovely way of doing it. It's not Google Translate. Thok se words are being translated. You're really, really getting the correct fit and enjoying that. Or sometimes a translator, like for Disciple, sometimes I missed the point. Say, I've just missed what is being carried forward in that scene. I missed it.
Okay.
And then when I explain what aspect of it I've missed, then the words that suggest themselves are completely different in the subtitle.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
but
the
I must
context.
tell you a very funny thing that I subtitled some many years ago. A friend of mine her Hindi was strong. She got this work of subtitling Baywatch. This serial called Baywatch.
Yes.
Baywatch into Hindi subtitles. And she said, I don't understand this American idiom much. So let's do it together. And anyway, it's quite. It's not. She felt it was boring work. What is American serial people are just running about on the beach. When we sat and no work is halka pulka. Finally, all work is very demanding. I mean, translation work.
Yes.
So we had a great time, and one of the things Shobha and I talk about in our talk is no work is to be ashamed of. I will put it on my CV if I have to apply somewhere for translating work. That I have subtitled Baywatch. Disciple is somewhere there in the whole intellectual hierarchy. Maybe Baywatch is somewhere there. But for me, that is work, and I'm proud of both things equally, I think.
But still, you use the same skills to translate both the...
Absolutely. You have to understand the milieu in which it's being spoken, the context, the subtext, all of that. And by the way, it paid us so well in whatever 1996 or something we did it, that she, I think, could pay off some EMIs, and I could buy something very important I needed, and also.
Very nice. Then how does your profile as a book coach look like?
So, book coaching I used to not do, but I started seeing, I had not even heard of it, say, 10 years back. But I think what has happened is that more and more non-readers and non-writers are entering the writing world. People who don't read, so they don't have already much of an idea of how a book looks, how is it structured. They've never given it any thought. Earlier, I think somebody was going towards writing, had already had exposure to, maybe not formally, but out of reading, they knew that they will have to structure a book. Now there are people who may want to write just one book. Suppose there's some life experience, they want to write that, they feel it has some relevance value. Then people started writing up to 80,000 word manuscript with no idea how to do it. And then they would start trying to sell the book and be rejected. They would put money and publish it, but not really know. It wouldn't move the book. And then book coaching, I think, is a way to help a person. So the book coach gets in from the ground upwards, not when the thing is ready.
Okay.
Right from take a look at why do you want to write this book? What is its synopsis? What would be its selling point? All of this you get the person to think before they start writing. So it's like, small gym training before you run a marathon straight away.
Oh yes.
Nice. So sometimes a book coach will also tell you that there is no book in this matter. This is very little matter. It's a nice idea. You're not ready to still stretch it into a book yet. Why don't you just write a small essay? Why don't you just write explore the length and breadth of this idea fully, and only then don't start with, I have to write 50,000 words on this. Don't start. A book coach will help you see that also.
You are a trained counselor and in this field of family counseling for many years. So how does that aspect help you in your writing profession?
So at the outset, I want to clarify, a lot of people think that if a person is a counselor and a writer, the person is simply stealing stories from their counseling room and telling them as stories. Not at all. One thing is, it is not ethical, firstly. And secondly, you don't need to plug into those things. If you are a writer, I think I became a counselor because
you are a writer.
I was interested in people. I think I have an empathetic personality. I listen. I don't have very hard and fast and judgmental rules about how to live life or how people should live. So this was there as the writer also. As a writer also, you need to be all this.
Yes.
And then to be a counselor, it's not such a jump if you have these components in your personality. So it just deepens my ability to listen and to engage with also younger people and see how different their lives are from, say, people just 10 years older than them. How quickly the internal obligations of living are changing for people. So these kind of things may find their way into my writing, but not take a case and write it up as a story. Not that.
Yes.
No?
Right.
So, but they do. There are loose connections between the.
Right.
Or sometimes I will tell somebody in counseling to read something.
Exactly.
Yeah. So even well-known stories, which you feel, what Freud had said about the aim of psychoanalysis is to turn neurotic misery into common grief. So if you read other people, what has happened to other people, other things, other well-known explorations of the human mind, it makes you step back and see that your life is, see it in a perspective of a larger human condition that way.
True. There are many versions of English today. Right. So what are your thoughts about it?
I welcome them. In my own writing, I use a lot of Indianisms. I will throw in Marathi phrases and, assume the reader will understand in the context. Then there's part of my writing workshop, we do dialogues, how characters talk to each other,
Okay.
Because every person cannot talk like you. Every character can't talk like you. That's the big thing where you have to step up,
Correct.
So, and create people who talk the way they talk. You have to give them a writing style, a speaking style. So in that, it's good. We are freed with this coming in of English and Marathi English, and in Bangalore, a person will speak English in a certain way, pulling in words from their language. All of this. So I feel this loosening up of language rules. It's not English literature in that sense. So
not so rigid anymore.
Rigid or formal and all of that.
Oh.
I really welcome it. I was just thinking I get irritated when I see WhatsApp language being used in a lot of writing. But I'm telling myself, why not? There will be an age group of people who really relate to, they'll read also faster when they see B4 instead of before and all. They may read it also more with more ease. So the point is that language is one thing, but what it is conveying, its content, that better be good. You can't just use language just to dazzle or to entertain alone.
What would be your counsel for those who want to pursue writing as a hobby or as a profession?
So, like I say in my workshops also, one thing is to, first of all, to start writing, to come up with some small order things to write daily. Either you do a daily thing or, so many words in the week, but to keep writing and not wait for that one big grand idea, but to literally pluck, how bread, when you're making bread, they say, even if you don't introduce yeast, the dough will take yeast from the air and grow. You have to be watching things around you and take quite a little thing and keep small poem, a small observation. Journaling is important. I give at the end of my physical workshops, I give everybody a little writing pad. Because you should keyword, you should put down just a passing thought, write that keyword down. Is this an idea worth exploring? Because it goes out of our head. And if you put it down in your phone, the next time you go to look at it, there'll be 16 messages and you'll just get hijacked and look at something else. So a physical scribble pad is, I think, for just ideas to explore.
Okay.
Important. And that inner editor saying, no, this is nonsense, don't, inner critic. Must quieten that inner critic and quieten the inner cheerleader. Some people feel everything I write has to be applauded. Now that I've written it, nobody can say anything about it. You're great, you're the best. There is a limit to this positive thinking your way into writing. There's a limit to that. So, and to, I think, not start thinking about who'll publish, where will I publish, not for a long time. I find people are encouraging their children to write, great. But 12-year-old child, mother is pushing it so that on your 13th birthday, we'll release your book. I think it's not. I don't. It's like trying to make instant pickle kind of,
Right. So writing is important, self-expression.
And just to, the daily practice kind of. So you have enough material to be casual about it, in the sense, not feel now I've written this, now this can't be thrown, this is perfection, iska kuch banna chahiye. There has to be enough material to work with.
Okay. What changes have you seen in the language field in these 20 years?
You're saying in publishing or in language? In the language?
In the language field in general, like writing, publishing, editing, everything.
So I think slightly alarmingly, the physical books, people are reading less and less. This is a fact.
Okay.
So I find it slightly alarming nowadays, where people tell you, do a biography of a musician, but make it 100 words. It should be read in one screen of a phone.
Oh, okay. That's smaller.
So, but I'm understanding that doesn't diminish that musician.
Yeah.
If a person is interested, they'll go further into reading more about him or her. But this seems to be a demand. A lot of stuff has to be. I found an obituary to my mother that I had written. I had not published it. It was written 2-3 weeks after she died. I just put it up on Facebook. And it was I've written there, I've not edited, nothing, as it occurred to me, I wrote. And still several people trying to be helpful, actually, saying, you should cut this down by half, and you should make it so that it can be passed around on WhatsApp. It's a brilliant piece, but it should be so that we can send it on one thing of WhatsApp. All of us are thinking like this, as if you're not willing to read anything more than what in one screen. That I find is a strange trend, but we have to live with it, and we have to coexist with these trends, I think.
So, what changes would you like to see in this industry again, the writing publishing industry?
I think the one good change because of blogs, because of podcasts, all of this, is that everybody is not queuing up to go just through the eye of that needle of premier publisher will publish me. They're making do without them, whether it's self-publishing or whether it's a blog where a person says, I just want a readership. I'm not planning to, my money, roji roti doesn't depend on it. Those are good things. If somebody has the discipline to get up and feed their blog periodically so that the readership gets used to that person writing, so these kind of changes are welcome changes. Then self-publishing platforms there are, where they help you, just to self-publish is difficult. You pay, but how do you show it, and how do you distribute it? And which aren't just a question of you writing and just going and printing and then getting stuck with a stack of books. These are platforms that are helping you to print, and then they'll distribute for you, print on demand. I think there's a lot. It has democratized the process quite a bit. Instead of waiting in line for that big short name publisher to, take your book or not take it. So I think those are good.
Good changes.
Good avenues. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, great. On which book are you working currently?
So one thing I have been working on is a sequel to Three Dog Night. My novel Three Dog Night was about the main protagonist was a 61-year-old woman. I felt that, all this chick lit, that is okay. In the West, there is a lot of writing which is the main character, whether it's a detective or whoever, is in quite old, 50 plus.
Okay.
And that's also because publishers know that women of 50 plus have good reading habits, and they have the discretionary income to buy books. They do buy books. So I had this story in mind of a 60, not me, it was not autobiographical. So I want to explore that story further and do a slim sequel to that story. That's
nice. Okay.
Yeah. And the other thing is a story I want to write, which is the main protagonist is a negative character, and she's from a minority, not religion, caste wise, but a smaller part of society. And I hesitate, and I'm a bit nervous that I'll be seen as unpolitically correct, and so I'm so caught up with all those things. But just some weeks back, I said, put that aside and write this. If you think it's worth writing, write it. Don't be afraid of the current mahal of immediately, putting a query against a person's name. Yeah, because they've, got a character who's in a sensitive zone.
Yes.
But I'm working on that. I'm really making myself, and now I'm enjoying writing it, because I stopped that pure thing of what's the point of writing? I'll get branded as this and branded as that.
Oh, nice.
Thing I'm working on now.
Great. So I wish you all the best for your writing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Look forward to many more blogs from you. I love reading them.
Thanks so much, Lalita. So nice.
And thank you for sparing your important time with me. Thank you for joining.
Yes. Bye.
Thank you.